Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Lattes and Laundry. I think I might just need to officially make this season two because it has been probably 7 or 8 months since I uploaded an episode. Plus, we're going forward with a new format. I don't think YouTube likes just audio podcasts. And since this podcast is exclusively on YouTube, I thought that this year I would do a video format just so that maybe I can get more into YouTube's algorithm. So I hope that that's okay with you. I know that podcasts are nice because you can put them on in the background while you do other things. So don't feel like you need to sit and watch the video. You can still put it on in the background. I'm not going to have pop-ups or things on the screen or visual examples. It's just going to be me talking. So if you want to just put it on in the background while you do your laundry and do your housework, that's perfectly fine. Don't feel like you have to watch me, but this is going to be the format going forward. So in today's episode, I thought I would talk about the topic of authenticity and the conversation surrounding authenticity on the internet. And what brought this idea about was during the ice storm that North Carolina just had. I actually went to go stay at my mom's house, and she and I were watching the old Martha Stewart Living show. I don't know if you remember the show or not, but it was the one from the 90s where she had her chows and her beautiful house, and she was showing you how to do homemaking things. And so my mom used to watch that show when I was growing up, and I was so familiar with Martha Stewart that when she went to prison, I actually raised my hand and requested prayer for her at my Sunday school class because I had an attachment to Martha Stewart. So that's what we watched that weekend. We watched some Martha Stewart living, and I got kind of curious about Martha Stewart's life. So I remembered when I got home that Netflix actually had recently, semi recently done a documentary about Martha Stewart. Now, of course, Martha Stewart is still living, but it was about her life and her career and the insider trading stuff, why she went to prison, all of that. And so I watched this documentary, and one of the things that stood out to me in the documentary was this one particular clip where this lady, I don't know who she was some sort of critic, and she was giving an interview and said the words, "Nobody likes Little Miss Perfect," or she said, "Everybody hates Little Miss Perfect. Nobody wants to turn on their TV and see this unrealistic standard that Martha Stewart is representing." Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what she said. She definitely used the word that everybody hates Little Miss Perfect. And apparently, one of the criticisms that Martha Stewart faced with her show and her magazine, because Martha Stewart was teaching the art of homemaking. That's basically the crux of what she was doing. She was doing it perfect, and she had a lot of money, obviously, that she was doing these things with, but she was teaching. And even in the episode that me and my mom watched, she said, she was doing fertilizer, or not fertilizer, she was doing compost piles, and she was teaching you how to make a good compost pile. And said, "You don't need a lot of money to do this. You don't have to have as fancy a setup as I do. The fundamentals still apply." And so that was what she was doing, was teaching the art of homemaking. And apparently one of the major criticisms that she got was that she was perpetuating some standard of perfection and that she was Little Miss Perfect. And a lot of people hated her for that fact. And I thought it was that stood out to me so much because I think that the conversation of authenticity and Little Miss Perfect, I think that comes up a lot in the online culture. And specifically, I know it from homemaking and motherhood culture online. There is a lot of that kind of criticism of content creators that just want to post beautiful, positive content. And I mean, I've been very vocal on my other channel and my Instagram that I am not super organized and there are some things that I struggle with. Like, I am very much not a perfectionist. Martha Stewart was a perfectionist. And that was one of the things that I guess everybody hated her for, was being a perfectionist. And I've been very vocal about the fact that I'm not a perfectionist, but even I have faced criticism of people saying that I need to be more realistic. And so I thought this was an interesting conversation to have. One of the common criticisms that I see of a lot of creators that create beautiful and inspiring homemaking and motherhood content is that it is unrealistic. And I think that the problem for people is not the content that they're watching, it's the way they're watching the content. Let's just say, for example, that I had a bad day. Say that everybody in my house had been sick, my house was a wreck, my washer's broken, I've got laundry everywhere. We ordered pizza for dinner because nobody's filling up to cooking anything. And so I'm kind of sitting in a bad mood because of how bad my day had been. Then I take that attitude and I go watch content on social media, and before you know it, I'm seeing all of this beautiful content and the homemakers that are making the beautiful homemade bread and making a homemade meal. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to compare myself to these people. And then before you know it, I'm looking at somebody else's day in the life video or what I made for dinner video and saying, that's unrealistic. Ugh, what, it must be nice to be perfect all the time. I think number one, the problem is that we're comparing ourselves. And number two, we're taking our insecurities and projecting them on the person that we're watching online. Reality is that we know nobody is perfect. There's absolutely no perfect mothers, no perfect homemakers, no perfect people. Everybody has dirty dishes, everybody has dirty laundry, and we know this. And so we go online and we start comparing and we start getting bitter about it. It is not those content creators' job to share their struggles with you. It is not required of them that they share their struggles with you. They don't have to post their dirty laundry. They don't have to post their dirty dishes. They don't have to talk about all the issues that they had in their day. They don't owe that to you. And I think that we kind of, because we are all so intertwined with each other through online, we almost look at everything as, how does this relate to me? And I don't think it's a good way to look at things necessarily. I think it's okay to find things that you can relate to, but I don't think that you should be viewing all the content with, how does this relate to me? It's not everything is meant to apply to you. And if it doesn't apply to you, it just doesn't apply to you. And we have to learn to scroll. And I think, especially, it's important to note that if you find yourself in a heart posture, shall we say, where you are just unhappy with whatever in your life and you start viewing everybody's content and just comparing your life to theirs, I think that's a really good time to let yourself have a social media break. And I think it's a really good time as well to find a new hobby for yourself. And I'm being 100% dead serious. In times of my life where I have felt the comparison bug, say I was discontented with something in my life, when I have faced those times and I have found myself comparing myself to other people, I would always do one of two things, or sometimes both. Take a social media break, find a new hobby to invest myself in. As a matter of fact, if you have been following me for a long time and you remember my minimalism days, my minimalism phase was my new hobby to distract me from some comparison that I had in my life. But I do see a lot of creators take a lot of pushback on people saying that they're unrealistic. And whenever they do question boxes, they always get asked, do you ever have a bad day? Do you ever lose your temper? Do you ever this? Do you ever that? And of course, usually they always say, of course I do, because I'm a human, you know? And it's like, I think it is on you to make sure that you are consuming content responsibly. And I think that is meaning that you don't allow yourself to project your insecurities onto other people. You don't allow yourself to compare your life or to let yourself get into this bitterness and resentment attitude where you look at things and instead of being happy for those people or appreciating it for the beauty that it is, you are like, "Ugh, must be nice. Ugh, Miss Perfect. Ugh, this, everybody hates Little Miss Perfect." And so I think that's just such an important thing to remember, and to remember that these content creators do not owe you their struggles. I think when it comes to authenticity, I think authenticity is important. I know for me, in the way that I approach social media now, I still feel like I talk about things on my YouTube channels, but on Instagram, this might be a little bit of a tangent, but I'm going to put it in here because I do think it's relevant. When I was on Instagram back in 2020, 2019, 2020, when my Instagram really started growing, I wrote a lot about motherhood. I wrote a lot about my convictions of homemaking and things about motherhood. And then there was a season where, after my second child was born, where I really struggled. And I felt like I had to walk this very thin line of being authentic and being honest about some struggles that I was having while also not leaning into toxic motherhood culture, because I never wanted to contribute to toxic motherhood culture, because there is a flip side to beautiful curated content. There is a flip side where people are trying so hard to be relatable that it's concerning. Like for example, if you're on TikTok at all and you've seen some of these really crazy accounts where they never clean their house and their house is literally filth, and they're clean people are literally calling CPS on them because their house is so bad, and they're trying to say that this is relatable. Everybody's house looks like this. That's the other side, the extreme side. The other side too would be toxic motherhood culture, where women all they do is complain about being a mom and about their kids and about their husband and about being a stay-at-home mom. That's I consider very negative mother culture, toxic culture online, and I have never wanted to contribute to that at all. But I do think at the same time, for me, there were things that I was struggling with in motherhood that I wanted to be able to talk about because I knew somebody out there probably was able to relate to me on them, like things like postpartum depression, anxiety, loneliness, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I was trying not to lean into negativity. And so there was a balance with authenticity. And if you notice, I don't really write about motherhood anymore. And maybe I should get back to it because I do feel like I'm in a better space now. But I stopped writing about motherhood because I felt like I don't want to write about anything like that as if I'm an expert, because I feel very much not an expert right now because I'm going through a hard time just mentally and emotionally. And, that was a weird, tricky thing for me, and I feel like I have kind of pulled away in the past 4 years or so from writing about things like that with any kind of authority because I was struggling. That's just a little bit of an example, but I think that when we're talking about authenticity when it comes to online culture, being an authentic creator, I think we need to be looking more at things like not rage baiting. I really do not like rage baiting. I just personally find that very unethical. Maybe that's a me thing, but I just find rage bait very unethical. I think a lack of authenticity would also be very disingenuous product reviews, sketchy partnerships where you don't disclose properly, things like that. I think it's more important to have very ethical influencers that are promoting products that they actually use and love. They're disclosing ads like they should. They're not rage baiting, trying to just drive the algorithm. All of those things to me are more authentic. Like that's part of what makes people authentic. And then, of course, not putting on personality. Those are the kinds of things that I think about when I'm thinking about authenticity in a content creator or an influencer. And I do think that if we choose to be open with your struggles about something, and that is a big word there, choose. I don't think we are owed by these creators for them to bear all to us. I don't think we are owed by them to share struggles if they don't choose to. But I do think that if we choose to share struggles, that it can be done in a positive and ethical way to where we're not moving towards negative, toxic online culture. So that's just something that I thought of when I heard that person say everybody hates Little Miss Perfect on that documentary, because I know that even Martha Stewart herself was not perfect. The documentary touched on mistakes that she made and things that she did and things that even she herself said she was not very good at. She was not perfect. She was somebody who liked control. She was raised by a perfectionist father, and she wanted to do the thing that she wanted to do, which was teaching the art of homemaking and showing people how to do these things. And she became extremely successful at it. And I do think that a lot of the criticism that she faced on that was probably from two camps. One people being insecure and projecting their insecurities onto her, and two people being jealous of her being able to be successful doing something that is considered traditional for women. So that's all the thoughts that I had for you today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video. Please share it with somebody that you think would be interested in this topic. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Have a great week.